Welcome to the Social Mission Revolution. Each week we explore some of the greatest undertold stories of businesses and everyday people who are making their ultimate impact on the world through social mission. This is Social Mission Revolution, and this is your host, Andrea Putting. Welcome to another Social Mission Revolution, and today I'm here with my guest Jeanice Cummings, and I'm looking forward to hearing all about what Jeanice is up to because it sounds fascinating. And I'm really fascinated to know how she got into this particular area. So Jeanice, would you like to share with us a little bit about who you are and what you're up to?
Okay. Well, you already introduced me as Jeanice Cummings, and I work with the women, incarcerated women. And how I got into it, I was actually hired for the position, but I had an opportunity to use my creativity and go as far as I wanted to with it. And when I first got into it, I didn't know that it was going to be so fulfilling for me. But as I worked in it over 11 years so far in it. And every time, the longer that I work in it, the more that I see the need for people to become more aware of the incarcerated women and what they go through and how we can support them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting one because it just kind of hit me when you told me originally what you did. I thought, well, that's really something different that people wouldn't think about getting involved in. So that's why I was so fascinated to have you on the podcast, because I knew that it would open people's eyes. Is what I like to do. So let's start with the question that I like to ask people of if there was just one thing for you to fight for, what would that be?
It would be for women to be treated in the criminal justice system equally and not be judged so harshly, because a lot of them are mothers, and we have this idea that a mother can do no wrong. And it's a very punitive system to women. And that's what I would change. I would change where she's a mom, she's a human being, she's a woman. She's not just a criminal. That I would change, and I would have more people become more aware, because honestly, they were not on my radar until I got that job. Honestly, I have to be honest about it. But I always felt like it was a calling, because nothing is by accident, in my opinion. The thing that I didn't know is how passionate I would be about it, because I made a lot of changes while I was there in regards to incarcerated women.
Yeah. So you got this job with, what is your job within that area?
Well, within that area, I was hired to be a medical social worker, and my job involved going into the jails, working with pregnant women, because what they discovered in public health, that there were a lot of women that were incarcerated that weren't going for prenatal care, right? They would just show up at the hospital and they didn't have a history, a medical history. So they hired me to go in, talk to the ladies, and get them in prenatal care. You and I both know that it's never quite that simple.
No.
That might be what you start off with, but that's not exactly what you wind up with. So during the process of that, the program morphed into something different, because I was one of the people that wanted it to change. So I integrated some other areas into it, especially when it came to their children, because a lot of these children, especially minority children, were being placed in the foster care system. So my job was to go in there and to get them into prenatal care. And I kind of took it upon myself to make sure that the number of babies were reduced that went into the foster care system.
Yeah, I could see that be it's a big issue with that kind of thing, of how do women deal with that process where they shouldn't be separate, you don't want to be separated from your children, especially in the early stages, and to be going through all of that while you're incarcerated, it must be extremely difficult.
It is. It's very extreme. It's extremely difficult for them to make that separation. You know, I've been with you for the whole 9 months. Then all of a sudden, I get to stay with you for 2 or 3 days, and then we're gone from each other. So I feel like it's traumatizing to both the mom and the baby. But the good part is that I was able to connect with a relative, so the baby would be placed with the relative versus going into the foster care system.
Yeah, that would always be the preferable alternative, I'm sure, the way they keep that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
what are some of the other things that you find are coming up that are important?
well, most of the crimes that women commit are actually crimes to support their habits. You know, there's usually drug related, stealing. I'm not trying to minimize it, but they're not really very violent crimes. And sometimes their partner is involved in it as well, because he
Yep.
may be a little persuasive in terms of getting her to do it or doing it with him, but not all the time. I'm not saying all the time, but the crimes are not, a lot of them are not very severe. They're kind of misdemeanor crimes. But after a while, they turn into bigger crimes because they've been doing it for so long. And a lot of the women have been traumatized in early childhood. So they don't have good, some of them have a good support system and some of them don't. Some of their families members are substance abusers or have a lot of mental health problems as well. So they don't get a good start most of the time.
Yeah. So we see that looking at that, a lot of the work that would need to be done is obviously is preventing them from getting to that point in the first place. Is
It is. It is. I agree. It is prevention, but they don't know that that's what they need.
no.
So that makes it even harder, not impossible, but it's very important to build that relationship, because once you have that relationship built, they trust you. All women, that's how it is with everybody, especially women. Once they have that relationship with you, you kind of try to motivate them to to envision a better life for themselves, because they don't have a vision like we have a vision. Even when we're young, we have a vision. They may have a vision, but somewhere along the way it gets lost. And so my job is to help them create a new vision for themselves where they can believe it and
Yeah.
be it. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a whole process of just that basic looking forward to the future, and how can I have a life that has purpose.
That has purpose, and that I know that I deserve it, that I feel
Mm,
so valued, that I deserve this life. So it's a lot of reconstruction. You
yeah.
reconstruct in a way. At least that's the way I look at it, you know. And it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Some women come in, they're ready, they make one mistake, they're ready. But if you've been doing this for a very, very long time and this is all you know, it takes a little time to turn it around. And having a baby is not the reason for you to change your life. A lot of people say, oh, they're having a baby, maybe they'll want to change their life. But there's no connection all the time with that baby.
Yeah.
Not really, not really.
Yeah. And understanding their own personal value and worth as a person
Right, exactly.
is the starting place, isn't it? That's the starting place, is them to
Yeah.
understand that they have something of value to give and share with the world
Mhm.
and
And
for
then,
themselves.
and when they're sober, they're clean and sober, they look at the world a little differently. But remember, they are going back to that same environment. There's not a new place for them to go. So those same stressors are still there, be it the family, be it the environment, be it the boyfriend, be it, you know, be it whatever. But to me, women are not on the radar in the criminal justice system because it's a male-dominated system.
Yeah. So in a way that's good. There isn't as many women in prisons. We don't want
Oh,
anyone in prisons.
it's rising. No, the number is rising now.
The number is rising.
Oh, yeah. Years ago, it wasn't that many women in it, but right now, women are steadily coming back. We have repeat offenders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets into that whole cycle, doesn't it? And
Yeah, it does.
finding that way of
Mhm.
getting out of that cycle is a real difficult and challenging place to be without having someone from outside of their normal environment to support them.
Mhm. And the trauma,
Yeah.
the trauma, they've dealt with a lot of trauma, a lot of mistrust with women, so, you, but they feel you. Because, one thing about working with people, because I have a long history of working specifically with women, battered women, mental health, homeless, you name it, I've done it in terms of women. And the biggest thing is for them to know that you're sincere, that whatever you tell them, it's not to hurt them, it's because you care. And they feel that.
Mm.
It's unspoken.
Yeah. And it's finding that person that they can feel that they can trust, because there've been so many people probably in their lives that they haven't been able to trust.
Exactly. And in my particular case, when I first went in there, that's why I know this is kind of a spiritual calling for me. When I first went in there, at some point they were shackling women during labor and delivery. And I didn't even know that until I went there. And most of the prisons and the jails, some of them have changed it. I know in California, we changed it. We made it happen. So women can't be shackled during labor and delivery and during transport to and from their doctor's appointments. Nobody really knew that.
No, that's
No.
medieval, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's horrendous.
It is. It is. But had I not been blessed, I consider it a blessing to be able to see it and then work together as a collaboration with other agencies to take it to Sacramento so we could change it. So now there's no shackling of women during labor and delivery at all, or transport.
That's
But
good.
that was really good. Very, very happy with because we have a lot of people that believe in the process in terms of, treating women fairly, justly. Even though it's a male-dominated system, women are there now. Some of the things have to change. They have to.
They
You know.
have to, yeah. You can't be treating a pregnant woman the same as you treat a young, strapping, strong man.
No. And and I must say, working with women, a lot of people find it very challenging because, women get caught on certain things, especially sometimes catty, sometimes, histrionic, a lot of illnesses, it's kind of understandable because no one's ever listened to them before. So here they are in an environment and they get to say things whether they get what they want or not. They're just not used to people really listening to them and valuing their feelings at all.
Yeah, it's tragic when you think about it. It's not until they get into prison that they get to speak to someone like you who will value them and to
Yes.
treat them with respect that everybody needs. So that's a real tragedy. It's an eye opener to say, well, we're letting people down in society,
Mhm.
that we're not treating them with that love and compassion until they're stuck in a jail.
And what I've always kind of wondered is kind of like this. What can we say about society that makes people rather be in jail than be free? What is that saying about us as a society? I always ponder that thought because if not, why do they keep coming back? I know that they're used to coming back, but sometimes when you're seeing them, they look very comfortable. And I have to remind them, this is not comfortable. It's not supposed to be comfortable, but society doesn't make it easy for any of us. That's why some of us have resilience and some of us don't. And
Yeah.
we have something to in our background to use to help us. And a lot of these women don't.
Yeah. And then so sometimes when they go out of prison,
Right.
they find they can't cope, so will do something to get themselves back out.
Exactly.
Mm.
But that means that we're not supporting them. There's very few programs for women. There's more concentration on male programs. There's very few programs on women. And one of the things is that they need to not be able to go back to their environment and to be able to reconnect with their children. A lot of their children are already adopted out. They've lost all their parental rights for their children while they were incarcerated, because they give them a certain amount of time to get it together. And I know that 6 months is not enough time to change your life.
No.
A year is not enough time to change your life. But if you don't have it together within a certain amount of time, your child may be adopted out, and then you lose all rights to your children. Happens to a lot of women. No one really knows about it until you're in there with them. The
Yeah.
way I was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of things that we aren't aware of. Someone told me a couple of weeks ago that in the US,
Mm-hmm.
there's 80% of prisoners are coloured.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So there's a lot of injustice there of
Mm-hmm.
society, because like you said to me, you can't tell me that white people don't commit crimes.
I understand. I
So
understand.
there's also that kind of injustice, which I'm assuming is mirrored into the women's.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Else they wouldn't be judged so harshly like that either. But there's a lot of, injustices for minorities,
Mm.
but who's watching? I mean, seriously, uh, that we might know about it and we're aware of it, but who's really doing anything about it? That's the sad part about it.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yes, I've just come up with this saying
Mm-hmm.
that I keep in my head, that just because it's not my story doesn't mean it's not my fight.
I heard that. I
So
heard
that
that.
we need to be able to go, well, this is an injustice. It might not affect me, but there are people in the world that this is important to. So we need to be able to stand up for them and be the voice where
Because
they aren't.
they can't stand up for themselves. How are they going to do that? I
Yeah.
mean, because their number one is that they they don't know how, and then they've been beaten down for so long, they've kind of just given up.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. And me working there too, I'm very affected by it, but I have to have my vision. I have to stay on point, because if I get off point, then it may not be in the best interest of what I'm trying to do, because I'm trying to change the mass, a bigger number of people. You
Yeah,
understand
it's
what
a
I'm
big
saying? Yeah.
challenge.
Yes. So, I have to remain objective, even though it gets hard, because it's very hard to see a woman crying when she has to separate from her child and not be affected.
Oh, it'd be impossible.
I have to be really hardcore to not be feeling it like that.
Yeah.
But when they deliver their babies, I go to the hospital with them, because I have clearance, so I can go in the room. And after they deliver, I'm there during the whole process while they talk to the social worker, while the family member comes and get the baby. I coordinate that pickup. I do all of that. And I'm there when she has to give her baby up. And that's when she needs the biggest support for me to be.
Oh, absolutely. That would be a heartbreaking time
It's
for any
heartbreaking
woman.
for me too.
Yeah.
I really, my heart goes out to her, but I'm like, oh my God. But I gotta remain, uh, the support system and not just break all the way down too, because I wouldn't be any good at all then. Yes.
Well, what do you see as things that people can, well, that we as a society can do to help this situation?
I think we can look at less at punishment. Why is there so much focus on punishment and acting like everybody's perfect?
Mm.
I think we need to focus on women, mothers. I'm not saying that the fathers are important, but if the woman is the woman is in the household is doing okay, the household's doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, more focus on the woman and becoming more aware that these women are there. They're the hidden population, the forgotten people that people have forgotten about. Being more aware of it. Because I once I go out sometimes and I ask people to speak in the church or whatever. And I asked this guy, could I speak in his church around incarcerated women? He said, we don't have anybody like that here. How do you know? Are you that naive to believe? You think people are going to go around and brag about being in jail? They're going to share that with you?
No.
That's a value judgment on your part. Everywhere is an incarcerated person. They may not say nothing because they'll be judged. And I'm not saying that punishment in its proper perspective is a bad thing. But I think you have to look at all the other things involved in it too, the environment, how they were brought up, because I'm a holistic person. I look at everything.
Yeah.
And stop looking at it in one compartment. She created a crime. She deserves to be punishment. She's a bad mom.
But why did she?
Yeah, what's her history?
Yeah. Where has that all come from, and how can we go backwards through that to help her to heal, to get to that point where she feels like she is someone of worth and has some value to offer to the world? We can get back to that, then
Yes.
then we've got rehabilitation. Rehabilitation is far more important than punishment. That's what we should. This is what we're looking at here, I would think.
But rehabilitation has kind of got lost in the justice system right now.
Has.
Yeah. I mean, we used to put a lot of emphasis on rehabilitation. Now everything is that she did wrong or he did wrong, so they need to be punished. But there's definitely a distinction between the male and the female. And sometimes I don't feel like that distinction is specified enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because guys are guys and girls are girls, and they just two different species basically.
Yeah, and often their reasons behind things are completely different.
Mm-hmm. Totally different. Totally different. So that's what I think awareness, recognition, and actually keeping up with it. I mean, not just letting it disappear into the sunset, bringing it out where people can see it, where people can at least know it exists, and then maybe the children don't feel so bad about it when we normalize it a little bit more. Because they got kids, and these kids there's a chance that these children might be following in the same footsteps.
Yeah, ensuring that they are surrounded by the right kind of
Right.
love and attitudes and positivity that will help them to grow and develop into people who are participating in society in a positive way.
Yes, and training, because I feel like hospital staff need training. I feel like teachers need training, because people say arbitrary things and they don't know how it impacts the children. You might make a remark about an incarcerated person, and you in your classroom is a child who's never ever even seen that parent. That parent has been locked away for so long. So there's a bit of insensitivity that needs to be addressed around incarcerated individuals.
Mm.
Anyway, you know.
So how would you, if you were giving advice to people about how to do that, how can we change society attitudes around this, what would you be offering to people?
Well, I guess I would offer them, you got to open up your heart. I mean, right now, hearts are really closed. I mean, just judging from what I'm seeing, right, globally, even globally, people can't even be who they need to be without people getting angry at them. So, um, open up a heart now, find a heart or something. I'm making a joke out of it, but it's very important that
Yeah.
we go back to our feelings, our heart, and support them in any kind of way you can by being honest. Because one thing about it, I don't overcompensate because they go through this. No, they get the same treatment that everybody else gets, but it's more loving. And I'm showing you the way, and I'm telling you the way, and I'm leading you, and I'm guiding you. I'm not judging you.
Yeah.
It's less judgment.
I think
That
that,
would be good. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a real key is not to judge them because we haven't walked in their shoes.
And they love their kids just like we do.
That's
What
right.
makes people think that they don't love their kids because they keep going back to jail? That's not a sign that they don't love their kid. That's a sign that they haven't gotten it together. They keep repeating the same behavior over and over again, but they still got the same love. The
Yes.
love doesn't go away like that,
No,
So I think that would be a start, at least trying to find our hearts again. That would be a good start.
yeah, I think that's a good place for people to start is just to connect in with their heart and to be
Yes,
show a little compassion
I think so.
to
Hmm.
all people,
Yes,
regardless of their
all
circumstances.
people, every last one of them, and don't discount their feelings because it's really irritates me sometimes when people say, "Oh, you shouldn't feel like that." Why? That's my feeling. That's how I feel. I can't feel for you. You can't feel for me. So, I validate your feeling, even if I don't understand it, because I'm not going to understand everything. I'm not, I'm not, superhuman.
Oh, aren't you?
No.
I only thought I had superhuman people on this show, but no, it appears that I have average, ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Exactly. That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I think we all have that. We all have the capacity to show a little bit more compassion to each and every person that we come across.
Yes. Yes. It
And
is.
and that's why I appreciate being able to talk to you because it does give us an eye opener into another world that we wouldn't have thought about, that we wouldn't have. The majority of people don't have any idea at all about.
No. No.
Yes. So I really appreciate your time today, Janice. It's been a
Yeah.
fascinating exploration into another world,
Thank you.
and I'm sure that there are a lot of people who will just stop and think about some of the messages that you've shared with us today.
And right now I call myself a redesign coach. So I have a coaching practice and it's UN working with me. So I've expanded the social mission to be in alignment with that, with the incarcerated women.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm sure that you'll be a great coach for all women who are looking to find that sense of who they are
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and what they have to offer to the world and to
Yeah.
themselves, that they
Yeah.
are
I
that
appreciate
they
it.
are worthy of taking space on the planet.
Oh, yes. More than worthy, right? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it. Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, Janice.
All right. Take
And
care. Bye
and
bye.
that's another episode of the Social Mission Revolution. And I'll be back next week with another Social Mission Revolutionist. This has been the Social Mission Revolution with Andrea Putting. Join me again next week when we'll speak to another social mission revolutionist who will inspire you on your journey to making your ultimate impact on the world.